Welcome back. This should be the first video of the new year. Last year I rounded things off with an overview of what my upcoming projects for this year are. And I didn't really give an order to them because I don't know yet how I want to do them. But when I did that video, I didn't have everything I needed for this project, so it wasn't really on my radar. And with the weather this weekend, it's a good thing it got moved up because it was -7 when I got home. And the wind chill is currently, let me see, -26. It's cold. It's stupid cold. So I'm actually working on a blanket coat, and I have this pattern. It's Simplicity 1254, and I first saw a vintage pattern of a blanket coat with a nice overlap that I really liked the looks of, but the pattern was kind of pricey. And nothing against that person charging, that's how you make your living and how you make your money. But I want to make sewing accessible and affordable through shopping for sales, thrifting, and repurposing. So Simplicity had their patterns on sale, and last night I got the lining cut out for it. I've got this gorgeous peacock blue fabric that I thrifted for the lining, and then I'm actually going to make the lining quilted because I want extra warmth. I can't keep myself warm. So I have some cream colored felt to quilt to the lining, and if you notice, I've cut this out way bigger than the pattern line says. So my line is like there, and I've cut out like an inch or more bigger than what the pattern says, and that's because when you quilt things, they tend to shrink down. So I cut it out big. I'm going to quilt it, let it shrink down, and then I'll put it against the pattern again and cut it out true to size that it actually needs to be. The pattern I got, because I'm going to have to hack this and finagle, just has a zipper up the front, but what I think I'm going to do is it meets in the center front with a zipper. What I think I'm going to do is extend each side 4 inches so that it overlaps and then fastens with buttons. Let me grab the buttons, because I was not smart enough to grab them when I started this video. And I think they're in the basket sitting next to me this whole time, because I put my pieces parts in there so they wouldn't get lost when I was finishing my Christmas sewing. Okay. Oh, buttons. So I've got these pewter colored 1-inch buttons that I think will look really nice. And I haven't shown you guys the best part. I have a wool blanket that is going to become the coat. This is a twin size blanket. Ta-da! That I've got, and it's going to be just big enough. I laid the pattern pieces out the other day, making sure that blanket was going to be big enough before I washed it. And with a little bit of finagling and leaving room to extend the front, because the front panels need to be extended out about 4 inches, I think we decided. So I'm going to have enough of that. And the pattern I saw had some patch pockets, so I think I'm going to cut some out. I actually cut the lining out for the patch pockets last night. Let me find them. Where did they go? There we go. This is from a different Simplicity pattern. If you guys remember the gray flannel jumper that I made the video of, this is the patch pocket that it has, but I trimmed it down a little bit because this had all sorts of swoopy angles, which looked really cool on the skirt, but it's a great big full circle skirt. But with the coat being more straight cut, I didn't want all of that because it honestly would have taken out the entire front of the coat, and I don't think it would have looked good. So all I did actually Mom did, was kind of folded over so it's a bit more square and straight. But it's still big enough for my hand, my phone, mittens. The pattern I bought has little side seam pockets that you probably can't see. They're very tiny. They're the most ridiculous tiny things. And I decided that everything needs pockets, because if you watch, I put pockets in all my skirts and dresses. But with winter, you know, you got your keys and you've got your mittens and you've got everything else you're trying to put in your pockets that I want extra pockets. So, easy enough to do, and you know what, if you don't use a pocket, that's okay. I'd rather have them and not need them instead of going, no, I need another pocket. So I tried going grocery shopping one day in a dress without pockets. That was hard. That is why we put pockets in everything now, because I need my stuff to be practical. And having no place to put things is not practical for me. So I think this afternoon maybe I'm going to get started on quilting things together. I'm going to do it on the machine, just a basic grid pattern. I am going to have to draw it out though by hand with chalk, which is going to take a bit. And then I'll do up a sample of the lining and the felt and just run it through the machine a few times and make sure I have my stitch length where I want, and just make sure it's okay before I start quilting the real thing. So I know that's going to be a project. With the holidays I have extra time off, so hopefully I can get quite a bit done over the weekends. I am going to go find someplace cozy because it is cold. The lighting is probably not the best, but I have the curtains closed because the wind is howling. It's cold, but you don't need super fantastic light to be able to see this. So I'm doing a 2x2 inch grid pattern quilted on my coat lining, and what I have here is a quilter's cutting mat. It's 36 by 30 inches, and it has 1-inch grids all over it, and then it also has 45 degree markings here. And I don't really have a straight edge on my fabric because it's all curved, but I kind of vaguely ran it straight as I could. And then what I do is I use this is called a ruler, and is my straight edge. So every 2 inches I'm putting a chalk line. I know this might not be the best angle in the world, but hey. So every 2 inches I'm doing a line, and I'm just doing them on even numbers because that's easier for me. So I just line my ruler up straight, I have my tailor's chalk, and I'm just drawing a line. Is it perfect? No. Is it effective? Very. It's actually not taking me a super long time to do this. It's maybe 10-20 minutes to get the chalk lines on a pair of panels. So this pattern has 2 fronts, 2 side fronts, 2 side backs, and 1 back. So there's 7 pieces total. I've got the front and the side front done. They're quilted. It takes me about 20 minutes to do each panel. So in an hour I can get lines marked and everything quilted. So it's not too dreadful. I've got extra time off for the holiday, and my plans got canceled for today because of the blizzard. So I can just stay home and sew all day. And I'm not worried about getting all the way to the corners because, as I said earlier, I cut this extra generous so that I can trim it down to size. So a lot of that edge is going to be cut off. which saves a wee bit of time on the quilting and the drawing. So like here, I would normally do another line, but because by the time I cut it off, that quilted line is likely going to be cut off, I'm not going to bother. Now, I've done all the lines going in one direction, and to do the other, because this is squares, diamonds, or whatever you want to call it, I just rotate the board 90 degrees, and I am trying to start vaguely in the center. This is not exact. This is all the grand experiment. And then I'm just repeating the same process of drawing a line every 2 inches. In a second, I'll show you how it looks from above. So this is what it looks like from above, and then I just use the chalk lines as a guide while I'm sewing. I actually did a sample. Yes, I sampled something. This is just a sample of the lining fabric and the felt. Yes, that one's very messy because I didn't thread my machine just right, so it does messy. Once I rethread it upright, it sews just fine. It's really fussy some days, and if you don't do it exactly how it wants to be, which I haven't quite figured out, it messes up, but you rethread and it's fine. No big deal. But this is the largest stitch my machine will do, so it's basically a basting stitch, which is helping the sewing process go a lot faster. I wouldn't want to do a smaller stitch than that. A, it's going to take forever, and B, because of all the layers, it's not going to look right. So that is how that's going. I'm going to get this marked up and we'll see where I'm at. I've gotten both pieces, all their lines drawn, and now I'm going to take my felt and pin the 2 pieces together so that I can get ready to quilt them. So my chalk lines up, otherwise I can't see them. And I'm just going to lay the lining over the felt, get it fairly even. Doesn't have to be 100% perfect because a big margin of this is being cut off. And then I'm just pinning it in the squares between the lines, and this way my presser foot on my machine won't run them over, and I can just pull them out as they're no longer needed. And I am just doing this on my regular machine with my regular foot. As I've mentioned before, I can't take the foot off where most feet do. It comes off at the shank. The foot itself doesn't come off. So until I get the part I need, I am stuck using that foot, which is fine. It's actually working pretty good. I know they make quilting foots that have a little bar, and you adjust the little bar to ride on your previous line of stitching, so you don't have to draw all this out. It rides on that, you use that as your guide, and then you quilt over here. So that would be cool, but I don't have one. Another option would be a walking foot, and the internet somewhere, if you Google it, is going to explain a walking foot better than I can. But a normal foot machine, the foot stays stationary, and the feeder dogs are what move the fabric. So a normal machine, the foot stays still, the feeder dogs move, and that walks your fabric along. A walking foot, both the foot and the feeder dogs move, so not, if you're working with really slippery fabric, one piece of fabric isn't advancing faster than the other. And it can be helpful when sewing multiple layers like this. Get you a better view here. I know the pins are a little hard to see, but that's fun. I didn't pin every square. I tried to do it a random assortment, and that's actually working well enough to keep it steady for me while I'm quilting. And then I just pop them out as they kind of get in the way and are superfluous. Okay, for my sewing machine, I just have my needle set at the center position. My stitch length is set to the longest one. And I'm just going to start at one end. I did try starting in the middle and working my way out, but I found it didn't make much difference, so here we are. Generally with quilting, you start in the center and work your way out. I think more fluffier things, it's more important, because you're going to have more material to work with. I'm not bothering to backstitch or knot my thread, because the edges are going to be cut off and they are going to be caught up in the seams, so I should be good there. And when I get to crossroads of my lines, I'm just gonna leave my needle down, pick my presser foot up, and rotate. So I'm basically making W's. I did try doing all one direction, and it honestly took a lot longer than just making W's back and forth. There are a few lines I need to go back and catch towards the end. The good thing about using dark thread on the light fabric of the felt is I can flip it over and see exactly where I'm missing lines, which makes this really easy. And it's going surprisingly quick. It's about 15-20 minutes to do a panel of just the quilting, depending on how big it is and how fast I'm working. It's cold. I'm not exactly working at a great rate of speed. It's a holiday. So I finished quilting everything, and I gave everything a really good press with lots of steam on the iron, because after quilting it was just kind of crumpled, and that gave it a really good flattening and helped everything relax where it needed to go. I trimmed it up so it matches the pattern pieces, and I've gotten the front and back and side front, side back all sewn together. Next up is to pop in the sleeves, and maybe the hood collar thing. They call it a collar, I call it a hood. It's slightly confusing to me at this point, because to me that looks like a hood, but they call it a collar, but oh well. So I need to do the sleeves, and then hopefully tonight I'll get the blanket cut out, and this week I can start sewing on the hood itself. Got my pattern pieces cut out, and I was most of the way finished cutting out before I realized that maybe I should film a bit. I put the hem of all my jacket pieces right on the hem of the blanket so that my stripe is equidistant. And I tried to fit everything in as close as possible, but it's a very, very thick blanket, so cutting it is very slow and very hard on your hands.
I feel like I'm cutting through the rug too.
You're not. The rug's still in one piece.
But it feels like it.
There's a knot.
Yep.
I placed the front 4 inches in, so I've got extra room to cross it over, and I've got the stripe detail on the front. I had enough to do a patch pocket on each side. And Kitty is being very good, not helping. She's curled up on her perch.
I think you're going to have to recut that corner.
Yeah, it's okay. Kitty, kitty. You hanging out? You hanging out? And you're not laying on something.
Only because there's nothing on the floor.
You say that like this stops her. Okay, so this morning I was playing with some pocket placement, and I've decided that where the front seam meets the side seam, gonna line it up just to the inside of that, and just above the top of my stripe, more or less. Be easier once I'm not a 3D shape and this is flat on the ground.
Then the cat can lay on it.
Yeah, then the cat can lay on it, because this thing doesn't shed enough as it is.
Yeah.
The amount of cleaning and dusting I'm going to have to do from this is unreal. So I've got some lining cut, and I'm just going to do right sides together, turn it right side out, and then slap on and sew it, and then I can get my lining attached and do right sides, wrong sides, and get it all inside out and make progress on it. I finally got it done. This thing weighs a ton, but it is so warm and cozy. I'm starting to die just wearing it, doing pictures and videos and stuff. It came out about like I was expecting. It was harder to sew than I thought. I knew sewing the layers of the blanket was going to be difficult, but what I forgot to take into account was how hard it was going to be to get under my sewing machine foot. So there are times I actually had to take the foot off, put the pieces under, and then I could put the foot back on, and that worked. Strength-wise, I didn't have a problem sewing it with the machine. It's a loose enough, soft enough material that it wasn't like tough, heavy denim. So my machine didn't have any problems sewing through it. It was just hard to get under it so it could sew. I've got great big pockets. I had to do some hidden fasteners to keep it shut. So on the inside, it has a button and buttonhole to keep this side wrapped over, and then I have another one at the top and here. Apparently I didn't sew that on as well as I thought. Well then, stick that in the pocket. And I got 4 buttons down the side. And then I have a snap for, it's actually turning out to be more collar than hood. It will go up over my head and everything, but it doesn't want to stay. It's not quite deep enough, especially if I have my hair in a clip or something. But it is all sorts of cozy. Get undone again. I'm loving how the quilted lining turned out. It looks so rich and luxurious. It's nice and soft and shiny, so it's easy to get on and off. You slide through it easy enough. And the quilting just looks so cool. I didn't extend it all the way over. Part of that was how I cut it out. But I'm actually happy with it not going all the way over. I think that would have been too much and too heavy as it is. It already is a very heavy coat. But I think this is my biggest project to date. It certainly weighs the most. But it will definitely keep me nice and warm. When I started it, we were at -20s with the wind chill. And then like the next week it was in the 50s and raining. And now it's about freezing. So it might be a little bit warm for this still, but it is very warm and very cozy.